Hi, I'm Dan Perez, martial arts tricking instructor, and in this video I wanted to share one of my top priorities while I'm teaching: no more crashing. A crash occurs following a loss of control. The converse works as well. If you lose control, you'll create an opportunity for a crash. Therefore, the principle I use when teaching or for my own learning is to always be in control. If you never lose control of your balance, you eliminate the opportunity for a crash. The challenge then is how to do that while still making progress in your training. First of all, this isn't usually a switch you can flip unless you've been putting in the right kind of work since the beginning. If you have been using the fly, fall, and fly again method to date, the first hard truth is that you'll need to go back, all the way back to the beginning if you want to truly reach this level of control. Smaller pieces, often overlooked by everyone except those first starting out, are where most athletes gave up their control to begin with. The result of this mistake is that further up the ladder, everything becomes a make or break commitment. And as a teacher of other athletes, I can say that's a risk I'm not willing to take with my students. I'm only interested in successful, safe landings, and from there I drive the progression forward. Therein lies the challenge, of course, so to share how I do that, let's go over a couple of tactics. With learning inverts, control can be maintained by manipulating inversion. Inverts are, by default, very unfamiliar to control, and the usual approach is to describe the finished product as in an entire flip, say, jump high and tuck your knees in or something along those lines, and then give it a go. If you're athletic or lucky, this works, and if you're not, or you're like me, it very much doesn't. As a teenager, I crashed my very first backflip attempt on my head, so again, this is not my recommended approach nowadays. Instead, I prefer to adjust the angle at which I rotate in the air gradually, from something simple to more dramatic by adding inversion through multiple attempts over time. The result is that I'm developing consistency while maintaining control, and while my invert may not be aesthetically pleasing at first, after a long while I've achieved the same result as the lucky or strong using a much safer method. One of the lovely things about tricking is that it lends itself so very well to this strategy because every fully inverted technique has a horizontal equivalent, and every horizontal trick can be ported over to the vertical axis, which means, if you know what you're doing, kicks really are flips in martial arts tricking. This approach requires patience, discipline, and expertise to pull off, but if you're dedicated to your safety and the long-term result, I can't say enough about how useful manipulating your inversion is to the goal of keeping control with your inverts. With that being said, we'll want to see an example of that vertical to horizontal to inverted progression I just mentioned, which brings us to tactic number 2. Everything is a progression. We can apply this inversion control to a combination such as aerial vanish gainer and make use of each piece as interchangeable in terms of its inversion. Starting with just a butterfly connecting into a vert kick, I can add inversion first to make it a pair of horizontal tricks, then upgrade the butterfly to become an aerial while reducing the second trick back to vertical, and keeping my fully inverted setup, I repeat that progression for building a riser, also known as a vanished gainer. Let's play again, this time with a flat spinning Valdez connecting into what we want to become a gainer. First, I upgrade my combo from one horizontal trick and one vert kick to become 2 horizontal tricks. In order to maintain control, I then add inversion to just the setup while reverting my second trick back to a vert kick. Then I start the process of inverting my second trick over to achieve a fully inverted Valdez swing through gainer flash. I've built the finished result with no loss of control, and more importantly, no crashing. The only thing I lost was that sweet hairdo. Next, let's focus in on the everything's a progression aspect. In this video, I'm keeping a consistent setup, which happens to be a master scoot instead of a Valdez, only this time, manipulating the inversion isn't the only tool I referenced. I'm counting slant gainer among the steps in my progression to corkscrew. Spoiler alert, there are many more steps to learning a corkscrew, but the overall strategy of using smaller pieces to maintain control is the important part. For any given skill, there is always a way to build it in a progression without losing control and subsequently falling down. For a skill like backflip or back full, what most practitioners use is a spotter, but as you might be able to guess, I don't recommend spotters for one simple reason: you give up your control to them. It might be in safe hands in that you don't necessarily fall down with a spotter's help, but the challenge for many athletes then is getting it back. Again, my advice is to never lose it in the first place. If you want to follow this strategy, you have to go back and look for where you still have full control, and that place will be different for everybody. You have to treat all of learning tricking like one giant progression, which it is. But you should do it in a way that you're in control of your body and your movements, which doesn't mean no mistakes, it means no losing control. The learning process is messy, and one of my favorite sayings is that failure is the mother of success. But to apply it in this context is to realize that failures don't have to mean crashing. Mistakes don't have to be dangerous to learn from them. I'm advocating for a more sensible approach to learning, one in which the student is in control and the teacher helps guide their progression in whichever way produces the desired result. We want to learn new skills, we want to learn safely, we want to learn tricking. What we want is to be in control of those goals. To put it another way, we want to land balanced on our feet and not our face, or at least that's what all the skilled ninja-like superheroes I see in the movies tend to do. Thanks for watching. For more teaching tips or to learn directly from me, you can go to teachmetricking.com, or to offer my skills and concepts at your facility, pick up my program at cinematicmartialarts.com.